What's up, everybody? It's your boy Wes Grant, and you're watching Suburban Nerd. This is the channel where I get my nerd views on today's nerd news, but also do reviews on movies, TV shows, and video games. And today's video game I'm going to be doing a review on is, you got it, Spiderman for Insomniac's PS4. This game is very fun. Overall, my enjoyment of this game was, it was a really good game. You felt like Spider-Man, from the fighting mechanics, from the swinging as you see right there, to the gadgets and everything else that makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. So I'm going to give you guys like a rundown of pretty much the things that I thought were positives and some of the things that I thought were negatives. Well, the first positive is right here, the fight mechanics. The fight mechanics from Spider-Man going around beating up these thugs and bad guys, it was awesome. You swinging around, you fighting them, you knocking them out, swinging, kicking them, everything you can think of, webbing them to the walls. All the fight mechanics are all there. And if you guys want to feel like Spider-Man, that's the thing. I know I'm sounding like, saying the thing over, but you really do fight like Spider-Man between flipping, swinging under the legs, if you've probably seen in the demos. Secondly, we're going to talk about the gadgets. The gadgets, of course, this game was developed by Insomniac, who made the game Ratchet and Clank, who were like just famous for all the different gadgets that they came up with. And this one does not slouch on that as well. From the trip mines that web enemies to the walls, web enemies to enemies, to like the gravity bomb that knocks people up in the air, to the web bombs that just straight up explodes and webs everybody up, to the drones that hit and attack all these other characters. You really enjoy all the little things that you can play with in the game, and it's fun to just switch and choose between all of them. Going on to the fight mechanics, they also have like the stealth to it, sort of like the Batman Arkham, where you sneak up, go on the perch, web them up, or you could even go sneak up behind them and web up enemies. Like, and some they have challenges where it's the main focus is to do stuff like that, and it's overall just fun. You can definitely enjoy so many different types of ways to take down enemies. The suits themselves, there are a variety, a massive amount of suits, like more than any other Spider-Man game that's ever been. And with this, the suits actually come with abilities and attributes. Only thing that's really good about it is the fact that none of the attributes have to stay with that with the suit itself. You can, once you get the things, you can switch them from the one suit to the other suits, whichever suit that you want to swing around in, and then just straight up enjoy whatever you want to do with whatever suit. New York, it is gorgeous. And every time you swing in, they start playing instrumental, and all the music that just makes you feel like you're Spider-Man. You're swinging through the city, you're going around, doing all the things you want to do, swinging to the top of the buildings, running up the side of the building, flipping from one side to the other building, and then sliding in between, flipping off of smokestacks and all the other things that just you feel like Spider-Man. And it's awesome with the swinging through the New York. That is gorgeous. Like, sometimes you just want to perch on a building and just look, and you're in awe of everything that the developing company has made. This by far is like the most massive New York and most like detailed New York that we've ever gotten in a Spider-Man game, or probably any game. This game is like I said, gorgeous. The side tasks, though it suffers sort of from the same thing that all video games have, where there's, the tasks are pretty much the same thing. You go through, you get this thing for this person, you have thugs, you gotta beat them up. But this game, the side tasks aren't really that bad, because there's so many different varieties, from getting backpacks, to taking pictures of monuments, to going, catching pigeons, and then they have the laboratory missions where you have to go and just do things for Harry. Also, like, they have Taskmaster tasks. They have the bases where you take down Wilson Fisk, or Sable's crew, or like, there's so many different side missions, side tasks you can do, and then random side missions pop up randomly where you see this little purple triangle, and you just go to it and see where that takes you. And those ones tend to be really good. They have a little bit more story to it than just the regular ones where you're swinging around and, like, say the city, you take out the bad guys. So those ones are very enjoyable. Where this game really excels, it's the story. The story with this, I'm gonna say that this is the best interpretation of Spider-Man that we've ever seen in all media. This is including movies, TV shows, video games, because this one focuses not just on Peter Parker, but all, not just Spider-Man, but Peter Parker and all the people in his life, from Aunt May, Mary Jane. You play a good portion of the game, a decent portion of the game, playing as Mary Jane Watson, and as she's in I believe like a reporter, and she goes around just investigating things, and you know how it is, how she just doesn't keep herself out of danger, and just overall, I'm sorry, this thing's like, the little trailers, whatever, but yeah, so with this, everything goes on, and so I'm just playing this thing in the back of my TV. Anyways, so you get to play as Mary Jane. At some point you play as, what's his name? Miles Morales. Play as Miles Morales. You get to do these sort of like watchdogs where he can control different machines, whatever, to try and get away, sneak away, go through these things. And I'm not going to say that part was fun, but you at least got to see or, understand these people that are in Peter Parker's life in the story. And the bad guys, starts off great with you taking down Wilson Fisk, so it's not the beginning of Peter Parker. In fact, this is him 8 years into it, so he's definitely, he knows what he's doing. And he has a relationship with Yuri, who's a police chief, and they have like a symbiotic relationship where they kind of depend on each other here and there. And that's pretty much where the positive end. Like I said, the story is great, the best story I've ever seen in any interpretation of Spider-Man movie or media, any other media. And when the story came to an end, you felt it with the heart, and you understood the struggle that Peter Parker went through with everything, between his friends, between his Doc Ock and having to work with him, and seeing the development of Doc Ock and what happened to him, to like everything else. So definitely that was the best part of this. Now my negatives. The fight mechanics are pretty simple. As far as like you taking down the bad guys, you just pretty much wait for the pattern. You see, he throws things, you wait for it, you just wait for it to prompt, you go attack. So as far as figuring out the bad guys to beat them, it's not difficult at all. You can, most of the time you'll be able to beat them in the first try. If not first try, you'll catch up really quick, and it's really simple. Which I guess they did that so that it can be accessible to all people, like younger kids as well. You don't have to have their brain busting trying to figure out how to take out this bad guy. So that's not too much of a negative, because I understand why they did it. The fights, the way the fight mechanics, it is not Arkham Asylum. If it's sort of Arkham Asylum-ish, but Arkham Asylum did kind of steal the whole Spidey sense from Spider-Man as far as knowing when to counter. But with this one, it's a little bit different, because it feels, at first when you're first playing it, it's not as quick as Batman's, which is crazy to say with Spider-Man and superhuman reflexes. It's quick, but it's like a little lag. So you see the thing, and not always do you press it as soon as you see it. Sometimes you press it like a little bit after, but you can take down the guys, and they have these one-hit instant takedowns that Batman had. But with this one, you have to build up the focus, which I understand why they do it. You don't want just OP and going down taking everybody else, but at some points there'll be so many bad guys that they're just onslaughting, shooting bullets, shooting rockets, people with tasers. But if you have the right suits and right abilities added onto it, then the focus builds up quick, and you can kind of take down everybody, zip between other things, and just take down multiple people one at a time. And then the one favorite superpower thing that I use is the web blossom, where he goes and just pretty much spins around and then webs everybody up, which is that's pretty much the best one, most like OP one, I believe. And that's the one thing about it. Like, as far as my fight mechanics, it's not as fluent as Batman, but it is pretty good, especially for a Spider-Man game. It is really good. The few in between battles, like the boss battles, there's in the beginning, and then just not that much during the middle, and then they're pretty much all towards the end. So if you're thinking like it's sprinkled out all the way through the story, it's really not. You're focused more on the story development of the Peter Parker character himself, so you kind of enjoy what's going on with him and everything that deals with his life. The web swinging. The web swinging's awesome in this game. You can see you can swing and grapple to something, jump off the buildings, and get that web burst. But I found sometimes with that web burst, if you're holding forward, it would just put you into a nosedive, which makes you have to feel like you have to let go once you do the jump burst off of whatever you're going to, because it just doesn't feel natural that I have to let go of leaning forward when I'm leaning forward to jump on everything else. And it seemed like they were just forcing you a lot of times to go into this web dive. Another thing is the fight mechanics or the swing mechanics from if you guys ever played the Spider-Man 2 game, the movie 2 game, that game, this is what everyone compares the web and swing mechanics to. That game was awesome. They also had this trick where you could do a web sling where you pull back and then shoot you like blocks down. And I thought they would have this, but it didn't have this for some reason. You do a little zip tie that kind of pulls you, but that thing, it was awesome. I always loved doing it. And I was a little upset that I missed it, that he didn't put that in, because it was one of the best, things that was in that Spider-Man 2 game. Also, the strength in the jump. In the Spider-Man 2 game, if you hold down X, the longer you hold it, the stronger the jump was. They have something like this in this game, but except they have you have to hold R2, then press X, then run, and then let go. Whereas opposed to the other one where you just hold an R2 when you're running, if you press X, it'll automatically start charging it up, then just jump off, and I think that would have made the fluidity of the game a lot more like just enjoyable for me. Also, the web crawling on the wall. Sometimes it was very clunky. You'd be going, sometimes it wouldn't go around the angle, like you're wondering how come it won't go up to the roof because some web like seal or something like that, and it just didn't make sense. Where sometimes it wouldn't allow you to climb around the corner or climb up the wall, and then a lot of times you'd be trying to climb in a small space, and up down up all of a sudden makes down, and then left makes right, and it's like sometimes you're like trying to figure out, okay, which way are we supposed to be going here? And that's one of the major things that I was like, okay, this is really just getting annoying. So the wall climbing itself was getting very annoying, and it started getting a little irritating, but overall it was pretty decent. The use of the powers, the suit powers, they're very good, but they don't make it so that you don't feel like you have to use them all the time. Sometimes like you pretty much just change them out whenever there's a challenge or a task, or like you're taking down a crime, and then if you see what it tells you to do a specific thing, then that's when you just switch it out. Like whether it be take out all the guys at once with electric hits or whatever, or whether it be like just certain things, and that's, or knock everybody off our roof. So you switch it to web suit's ability, and then that's pretty much what you do with it. Other than that, it's pretty good. You swap out the suits when you need to, or swap out the abilities when you need to, but most of the time you'll be stuck with whatever suits you want to wear at whatever time, which is still a good thing. My last thing that I have to say about this game is the fact that the missing New York spots. I was looking for certain spots that, like, say the Port Authority, not there. I was like, I go to BBQs, and sure they had the Midtown area, but then when you went to the Midtown area, all of a sudden they didn't have it, and I did not know why, and I did not understand what the purpose of that was, because you don't have to have the name of the place. You can always just have a place that looks sort of like it and just change the name. I didn't understand why they did. Midtown Comics, I was looking for Midtown Comics because it's a well-known comic book place, and you would figure they at least have a comic book place in the video game, but they didn't. And I was like, wow, why wouldn't they just put that in there? It doesn't even have to say Midtown Comics. It's Midtown something, just, I don't know. But overall, like I said, those are the things that kind of drag down the points for me. Overall, it's still an awesome game, best interpretation of Spider-Man that we've ever gotten, and it's enjoyable. I say get the game. If you want to feel like Spider-Man, you get the game, and this is it for you. Me, going forward, my grade for this would probably be a B+. B+ because though you felt like Spider-Man, sometimes the fight mechanics was a little clunky. It wasn't too detailed, because in the Spider-Man 2 game, they had combos where you beat them up in different combinations of X, Y, triangle, to the point where you can just web them up at the end to a ceiling, to one of the street lights, and have them just dangling. And that was one of the things I wish they had in this game, but apparently they didn't. So that's pretty much my review. Like I said, I put in my negatives, have my positives. You decide on your own whether you like it or not, but I say still go and get it. I think you'll have a great time. So that's pretty much my review. Remember to subscribe. Check out my my last review, which I think this is the first game review, and then check out my playlist of movies and other things that I do. So remember, I'm Wes Grant. You've been watching Suburban Nerd, and you've just been nerdified. Catch you guys on the next review.